If I had an unlimited budget, I'd go out and get the top 10 epigenetic biological aging tests on the market, collect samples from all of them at the exact same time from the exact same place, and wait patiently for all the results to come back saying that I am precisely 8.2 years younger at the biological level compared to my chronological age. You don't think they're all going to come back saying I'm 8.2 years younger, do you? Which means my idea of repeating this experiment every week for 3 months and plotting the results would probably look a little bit like this, wouldn't it? Well, thanks to modern science, we have options. Here is an alternative way of looking at this biological age question. Literally. Let's go. Yo. What is up? Welcome back to another week of How to Health. My name is Kevin. I run liftandbalance.com, where we take aim at all things health and longevity and do it in an odd, weird, interesting, and highly sarcastic way. Today, we're making the case for clarity into biological aging. Because let's be honest, as cool as all these epigenetic aging tests are, there are dozens of them, each with their own set of algorithms weighing methylation patterns differently, and typically only testing a specific type of cell, like a hair follicle, blood droplet, or cheek swab, making their collective results inconsistently interesting at best. So it's kind of irrational to put the fate of your longevity decision making into a tool which is simply not mature, proven, or standardized. Right? Now, this isn't to say that these tests, especially the ones that mix and match an epigenetic analysis with other key metabolic biomarkers, aren't useful, because they can very well be. For example, when trying to analyze meaningful change from a new lifestyle protocol over time. This, of course, comes with the assumption that the epigenetic test that you are using is consistent, because you are using it as a tool to track a trend, rather than putting your fate in that it is 100% accurate, because that's just not realistic at this point, for many of the reasons we just covered, which makes this new study we're going to review today so very interesting. If you're a longevity geek, that is. Which I assume if you're still here 3 minutes into me babbling about this stuff, you are. Rock on. Anyway, this new study focused on predicting longevity via scanning and analyzing the abdominal area. And you may be wondering, what the hell is a scan of my midsection going to tell me about my biological age? Well, not the exact number, like that you're 8.2 years younger than your chronological age, but some useful information, as it is where all your key organs, minus the brain, reside, officially making it the part of the body where most of the non-making up fake scenarios to worry about action happens. And what makes this study unique is that it explored a CT-based biological age model which could be built for predicting longevity, testing if it could outperform the traditional approach of analyzing demographic data, such as chronological age and sex, which, let's be honest, to date has been the best thing we have to assess risk of disease. That's why there are so many guidelines out there saying you should do X by the time you reach this age, like getting a colonoscopy by the time you're 40. You have gotten one, right? So here the researchers built a specialized AI model, which analyzed the macroscopic effects of aging at the tissue and organ level by retrospectively analyzing abdominal CT scans from over 120,000 middle-aged adults, predicting the risk of morbidity, aka dying, across the cohort. And what they found was quite interesting. After analyzing skeletal muscle, abdominal fat, aortic calcification, bone density, and solid abdominal organs, and crunching it with the up to 10-year follow-up data on participants, they found that the CT-based biological aging model significantly outperformed the demographic data in predicting longevity, observing that the age and sex correlated survival hazard ratio for the highest versus lowest quartile was 8.73, which essentially means that individuals in the top 25% risk group had a 8.73 times higher risk of mortality compared to the individuals in the lower 25% group. Damn, I know. And this was increased to a nearly 25x increased risk when cancer diagnoses within 5 years of the CT scan were excluded, suggesting that higher skeletal muscle mass, less abdominal visceral fat, clearer arteries, higher bone density, and less damage to organs is quite good for one's longevity ambitions. Which may have you like, duh. But here's the thing. These are all proactive tests that the majority of the population do not partake in. And when combined and correlated properly, data like this displays that they can have a big longevity impact. The calcium scan to assess risk of clogged arteries, the bone density analysis to identify if there is any osteopenia or osteoporosis, two major liabilities when it comes to aging gracefully, the body mass scan to identify the critical metabolic boosting skeletal muscle mass to harmful inflammatory visceral fat ratio, along with the organ analysis to identify deformities on what is supposed to be smooth organ tissue. This is why the study also found that the CT-based biological aging model also had a significantly higher index prediction accuracy and area under the curve compared to the demographic analysis, which is the math geek's way of saying much better. And although this model isn't spitting out some fancy biological age number that you post on social media and soak up all that longevity clout, it's doing something potentially even more influential. I know, hard to believe. Shedding light on a number of standardized, repeatable, accessible tests that the average person can do, with or without a prescription, to baseline, track, and assess their risk of negative health happenings. You don't say. Let's talk about them. Because as we know from many of our other breakdowns, more muscle, a higher bone density, less visceral fat, and relaxed, free-flowing blood vessels is highly correlated to a cellular and metabolic environment skewed towards efficiency, aka healthy, efficient mitochondria, proper cellular maintenance, low inflammation, and thus a higher odds, likelihood, and probability of vitality over time, aka longevity. So there are two main ways to approach testing yourself. First, ask your doctor for a few scripts, specifically for a calcium scan to check for calcium buildup and risk of clogs in the coronary arteries, a bone mineralization scan to check for deteriorating bones and thus the risk for osteopenia and osteoporosis, a body mass scan checking the ratio of metabolically boosting skeletal muscle to inflammatory visceral fat, and organ analysis, which might be a little tricky, mainly because often it is organ specific, but essentially this would look at key abdominal organs like the liver for scarring and deformities. And finally, a bonus test, one which was not discussed in the study, but I'm adding because it has such a strong inverse relationship with morbidity, VO2 max, which assesses your cardiovascular fitness, or the maximum amount of oxygen that you can utilize during intense or maximal exercise. Now, in case you do not want to go the doctor route, there's another option, as a fair amount of private companies and labs actually offer a lot of these services with no need for insurance, especially the body mass and bone density scans, which are typically coined DEXA scans, and they're pretty affordable, running anywhere between $150 and $400, with many of these private companies also offering VO2 max tests as well, two of which that I've seen have a pretty wide geographical offering across the US are DexaFit and Fitnicity. But a simple search with the Google machine will likely give you a good idea of all the options in your area. So take a look. Now, when it comes to the calcium scan, you can use a site like LabFinder to identify a location that will offer them with or without insurance coverage. Again, pretty affordable, typically only running $100 or so. And by doing this preventive care, you begin to formulate a story of your health, building a baseline to compare results for years to come. Because how can you truly know what direction or how fast you're going if you don't know when and where you started? Right? That being said, keep in mind, it's important to view these and use these as simply additional tools, rather than silver bullets of exact biological age wisdom, because that doesn't exist. This endeavor of living long and feeling strong is a game of odds, likelihoods, and probabilities. And getting your scans on is a tool that can help you sway those chances in a positive direction. And maybe, just maybe, drive and motivate you to adopt lifestyle habits that make you 8.2 years younger in the process. Hey, you never know. Go own it.